Write an equivalent fraction to each given fraction. Okay, so we have negative 1/3. The negative is with the top number. So you'll see they're all different in every example. But here, I just have to write a fraction that is equal to this one, but looks different. So all you do is basically you're going to multiply both top and bottom by the same number. By same number. So for example, a simple number to pick is just multiply them by 2. So if I multiply that by 2, I get negative 2. If I multiply that by 2, I get 6. And this is an example. I can multiply them both by 10. If I multiply them both by 10, I would get negative 10 over 30. As long as you multiply the top and the bottom by the same number, you will have written an equivalent. Okay, this one here, this fraction, you notice that it has a negative and a negative. Well, those negatives will cancel out. And they're basically, when the numerator and the denominator are both negative, they will cancel and become positive. So basically it's 4/5, right? To write an equivalent, I multiply top and bottom by the same number. I'll pick 2. For example, I get 8 over 10. If I multiply by 4, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 5 is 20, right? And again, that's 2 equivalents, right? This one here, so we have a negative 5 on the numerator and a 4 which is positive, and there's a negative out here. Well, these two right here, they basically cancel each other out as well. Because when you have the negative of a negative numerator, that numerator becomes positive, and basically we just have 5 over 4. So let me triple both of these. I'll times these both by 3, and I could get 15 over 12, for example, and that is what we call an equivalent fraction. If I multiply by 10, multiply by 6, it doesn't matter. Here we have the numerator is positive and the denominator is negative, right? So I will multiply them both by 4, for example. Doesn't matter. So if I multiply them both by 4, I get 28 over negative 8. Now again, I could write it like this. I could write it like this. I could write it like where the negative's out in front. 3 different ways. It doesn't matter. Negatives can be anywhere. Okay, and this one here. Notice right away inside this bracket we have a fraction where the numerator and denominator have 2 negatives. Basically those cancel out, right? And so we have the negative of 3 over 2. So the negative can, remember this negative now can attach itself to the numerator, denominator, or just stay out in front. I always like to attach it to the numerator so it looks kind of like that. And now to write an equivalent, I just multiply them both by 5, for example. And I will get negative 15 over 10. And that's an equivalent. And that is the second last example that I'm doing. So we just have one more to go. Pardon me. That is the last example. So I hope you enjoyed that lesson. I hope you understood it, and that'll help you with your first section of rational numbers.